if you bait hunt and the bait's gone, the spot dries up. If you get a scrape right, it's like starting to slice it.
Yeah, because it just keeps you. And a lot of times you get it started, and it just kind of is self-sustaining.
That's exactly, and that's the best one. Like, especially to kill the biggest, oldest deer off of. Like, you kind of want to get it running and let it run. And the cool thing about it is the deer will tell you, and this goes back to our camera strategy and the whole overview.
Yeah.
The deer, if you go into a 1,000-acre parcel, I think we started to talk about this and then we got sidetracked. Go into 1,000 acres, the deer are going to let you know which ones they like. Don't try to force it. Don't try to go out there and, I'm just going to continue to waste money on putting scent here because I think the deer. I'm like, no, the deer have spoken.
Yeah.
Scrapes are just like real estate. It's location, location, location.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Fair Chase podcast. Appreciate you coming back. Today we have a recurring guest, maybe the most recurring guest, actually. I don't know how many people have been guests more than you, Kevin Vistisen.
Really? Great.
I mean, I don't know what you're doing, but you're doing it right. You're tickling us in the right way. Can't help but have you back every now and then.
Well, you guys are from the Grand Rapids area. I love the Grand Rapids area. I lived there for a while, so maybe I'm just a little bit of a household name, fan favorite. I love me some Actually, I'm heading to Grand Rapids this weekend.
What are you doing down there?
I'm going to Latitude's headquarters on Friday for some content creation and some alignment for things that's going on this season, some other business related things, and then taking my wife, and we're going to stay down there for the night, get a night away from the chaos of the kids and the life and all that for an evening. But my wife, she's kind of really stepped up this year and become a business partner with me on this thing because I got completely overwhelmed last year. So a lot of our dates now are just going over numbers and going through books and filing receipts. And
that's romantic, man. Like you're looking at receipts, expense reports like that. Nothing gets me going quite like that.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. It seems to work for my wife. She likes productivity.
Yeah, sure. Right.
So it's actually a strategy.
Yeah, it's not bad. No, yeah, I was just at Latitude HQ 2 weeks ago. That's like 20 minutes from my house, so it's right down the road. But
yeah,
cool there.
Yeah, right on. I haven't been able to see it yet, and we've worked with those guys for almost the time that they launched the company. Had a relationship with those guys and haven't seen their facility yet. And like I said, my wife and I, we lived in Grand Rapids for a while. So we've always, before we moved up north, we were debating between moving to Grand Rapids area, like Rockford area. We really liked it up in and around north of the city.
Yep.
Loved it. And we were debating between there and back here, so we ended up here ultimately. I'm glad we did, but those were the two places that we were deciding to raise our family. Ooh, I lost your audio.
There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, no, I was just saying, I mean, both places are great, but where you ended up is one of my favorite places in all of Michigan. Just beautiful up there. So
yeah, I love being up north, man. Wake up Monday morning. People are like, "Oh, it's Monday morning." I'm like, "Yeah, it's Monday morning, but I live up north."
Yeah, it's sweet up here. Everything's beautiful, and the summer is incredible up there. You guys get a lot of smoke right now?
I'm so over it, dude. Whatever they got to do to make it stop, they need to make it stop. It's driving me insane. It's just obnoxious. It's been going on all summer,
I know. Any north wind, like
yeah,
a smog rolls in. Freaking Canada smog. You can get it together,
Yeah, please do.
But
otherwise, we're gonna come up there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
First state, we wouldn't have this problem, but I don't know. Now we just took Kevin Leach from Latitude. We just were salmon fishing with him a week ago from today. So
a lot of guys I see a lot of guys been salmon fishing. I've been invited a couple times. I really appreciate the invites. I'd love to go fishing, but man, I've been working from the time I get up to the time I go to bed, and that's going to be continued behavior from now to the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, so actually, that's why why I wanted you coming on the podcast today, because summer, a lot of guys are getting trail cams out. A lot of times that means you're making mock scrapes, and you mentioned being busy. You've been working on your company, which for people who are listening and don't know or whatever, you want to explain what you do now.
Yeah, well, I've worked in this space now for going on 9 years with the podcast, and creating media assets for companies, kind of as a contractor, right? We worked in that space for 7 years as primarily what we did all along. I work a full-time job. I'm a licensed plumber. I carry backflow certifications. I went to school in Illinois, got my certifications for heating and cooling and refrigerant work. And I've worked as a tech, specifically in service for plumbing and heating and hydronics for 2 decades now. So by nature as a profession, what I do is solve problems. Everything I go to every day is a problem. And that's my job, and I enjoy it. Like, a lot of mechanical stuff, a lot of just labor intense repairs sometimes with plumbing.
Yeah.
But we do commercial, industrial, some residential, do a lot of testing. So I've been a tech for years, and problem solving is like my profession.
Yeah.
And so a few years ago, I've always been a trail camera fanatic. You said people are putting trail cameras out now. Well, first of all, I'm a camera enthusiast, right? That's kind of how I started working in the space. Was the photography assets were valuable to companies. Like the time Instagram was getting really popular, companies would pay good money for photography deliverables. And so I picked up a camera and learned how to run a camera. And at that same time, when I started my platform, Exodus Trail Cameras launched. And they were like one of our first, maybe they were our first partner. They might have been the first company to ever write us a check, for work that we were doing in space. And I know we did a film, and we premiered it in Grand Rapids years back.
OnX is the title sponsor of our podcast here at the Fair Chase, and it's a must-have app for all of us who love to explore the outdoors. Whether you're hunting or hiking or fly fishing, OnX gives you detailed, accurate maps right at your fingertips. With property boundaries, topographical features, and trail data, you'll always know where you are and where you're headed. You'll also likely be able to figure out where that big buck is headed to. Plus, their offline maps mean you're covered even in the most remote locations. OnX is the ultimate tool for outdoor navigation, making every adventure safer and more enjoyable. Download OnX today and explore with confidence.
And they partnered on that for us, and they were like the first people to call us when we sent them like what we were doing, and they're like, hey, we're on board. Like, same thing, they wrote us a check. So the huge supporter and proponent of us getting into the space and working, getting that reputability with a company. You might have to add. Yeah, that wasn't the word I was going for, but building that, man. Being reputable.
Yeah.
But I tried to splice it up. I don't know what happened.
I mean, you got to sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes you try. You miss all the shots you don't take, right?
That's right. Exactly.
So I started utilizing their cameras and running cameras, and I've been a trail camera enthusiast ever since. Now, people that are diehard deer hunters are probably listening and follow a lot of media, know that company went out of business last year. I had to move forward and look for a new camera company to kind of partner with and work for. So this summer, I've been every option in camera. I've been kind of buying and trying and talking with and this and that and figuring out what I wanted to do moving forward.
Right.
So I just been putting cameras out, running cameras, and being in the woods a whole bunch of the time that like normal. I haven't seen anybody else out there. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it doesn't usually start that early. Yeah.
One day I almost died from horse flies. I didn't think I was like looking for paper in my backpack to write a note.
Yeah, that's right. It's like the you seen Jeremiah Johnson when he gets the guy that dies with his rifle in his hand. He's like, this here rifle killed the bear that killed me. You know, something like that with horseflies. Yeah.
Yeah, I would, if you're reading this, I died from being killed by horse flies, or check my blood. I may be a case study for gas station energy drinks
That's right.
exposure. One of those things is going to get me.
Yeah, exactly. One or the other. Either way, it's studied.
It's going to be the aspartame, dude.
Yep.
That's right. I know it's going to be the aspartame. I've been warned. I can't correct my behaviors. Nice cold Red Bull. Driving out to summer scouting this time of year, and byproduct of being in the woods, and a little bit about what we do ties in. You know, we launched a synthetic scent company in 23, right? So all these years that I've been running cameras, specifically 1080 quality video with audio, studying deer behavior, observing deer. I hunt all the time, and we would always, with baiting not being legal, minerals are touch and go everywhere. It's like, what's the kind of a universal strategy? And also, like, baiting's, even if you can bait, it's a commitment, to run one or two baits or whatever. I mean, you're going out there all the time. It's not the best way.
No.
So we were just like, what is the best way to get as many deer that are in the area on camera, do it effectively, efficiently, and affordably, right? Like, how do you actually do that? So I really started backing out all my SD cameras out of everywhere and putting them just off roads, trails, things like that, where I can literally like pull right up, basically grab a card. I run all my SD cameras on the fringe, and then I'll run cellular cameras basically internally in places that I don't want to go, right? And then we run basically every camera is over a scrape. I can't tell you, probably in the last 2 years. I'd have to really think about this actually, but it's unlikely that I set a camera up in the last 2 years that wasn't over a scrape. So if I'm deploying and I don't have a ton of cameras, right? Like, I work in the trades, I make a living just like everybody else. I run a modest fleet of cameras, around a dozen.
Yeah.
And that may sound like a lot to a lot of people, but there's guys out there that are crazy. They're running 40, 60 cameras. They're just nuts, right?
Yeah.
So half a dozen to a dozen cameras, that's my fleet.
Yeah.
And so I deploy those accordingly and move scrapes around and locate, whatever. I get an idea of how many deer are around.
Yeah.
What time are they, visiting the area? And then what big, giant, old, gnarly, nasty, and I'll find him. I will find him. The biggest, nastiest, gnarliest buck. And that's what guys that are, and it's not me. Like, I don't want it to come off like
Right.
There's so many testimonials of guys that in our company, Deer Hunter Synthetics. I've been saying this. We don't sell a product. We sell like a system, a method. It's different than just, a product is a fix, right? Or it can fail you because it's just a product. But if you have like a method and a system and that product is an application of that, and you just follow that protocol, it works every time.
Well, yeah, and so I mean, you mentioned mock scrapes. You're picking mock scrapes, and for people who are newer to hunting, you pick a mock scrape because it's like a thing. It's a place deer stop to let every other deer know that they're around or they went through. Basically, would you call that accurate? Is that a
I would say that the scrape is Twitter or X for deer.
Yeah, right.
That
Signpost.
that's how they communicate. It's how they communicate socially. It's their primary means of communication, and it's different than a rub.
Right.
Rubs will show you that there's some bucks around, but does and bucks communicate to each other. So bucks communicate to each other, does communicate to each other,
Yeah.
and bucks communicate to each other. So everybody is there. Like I said, it's like Twitter or X nowadays for news. Everybody's there. That's how they scratch out a lot of their social hierarchy. And when the breeding season comes around, those things are like it's like kicking a harness nest, man, if you got it set up right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's like this town center, or something. And it's
Can be. The right one
yeah.
can be.
The right
A lot of them.
point. Yeah. That's actually explain that for people listening. Like,
Yeah. So field it.
yeah.
So there's actually a lot of different reasons that deer scrape.
Yeah.
Some of it's just done out of frustration.
Yeah.
That's more likely young deer that don't really know how to handle the breeding season yet. If you come into a spot and it's just like kind of randomly, like all ripped up, you can assume that's 1.5 and 2.5-year-old deer doing that. They'll just tear an area up like that, right?
I mean, I last year saw I'm sitting in during the rut and early rut and I hear one making a scrape and I turn around and it's like these two forks and like you can tell they're grunting, they're scraping, they're rubbing. They don't really know what to do with themselves. I mean, they end up fighting, which is awesome to see these two little bucks. And they beat the shit out of each other. It was hilarious.
Nice.
But it's totally different than the more calculated, like aniline, bigger buck. They're just kind of like, it's like a sexual frustration that's like coming out of them at the time. Like a teenager, not really sure what to do with himself.
Yeah, they're trying to show off, scratch things out, figure things out. But it's not to be discounted either. Like maybe you're on a 1-day, 2-day hunt, and you go in and it's all ripped up. You're like, that's the easiest in meat extraction for a lot of people. It stops and ends there with hunting, right?
Yeah.
So hunt your hunt. This is another reason why the scrape is so valuable. We can sit here and talk about the biggest, nastiest bucks in the woods, but we can also say, hey man, I'm working 60 hours a week. I went and bought a deer tag. I'm going for opening day. I'd really like to shoot a deer.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? I got a hot tip for you. Find an area like that that's all ripped up, scraped up like that. Those 1.5 and 2.5-year-old deer are the easiest deer to kill that time of year. That's part of the reason why so many Michigan hunters shoot bucks too.
This episode is brought to you by 2O Gear, innovators in technical hunting clothing. 2O is a newer company. It's based right here in Michigan, and whether you're hunting elk in the mountains or chasing antelope in the plains or traipsing through swamps after that ruddy buck, 2O has you covered with premium jackets and pants, merino wool layers, everything you could possibly need to stay comfortable in the woods. Their products are engineered for functionality and durability, ensuring you stay protected in any conditions. Plus, their camo is really effective. We're big fans. So don't take our word for it, though. Go to 2ogear.com and check it out.
It's not just that they're targeting them. It's like what they're seeing. Because that time of year, those deer are just like, they're brainless for the most part. They're just driven by their hormones, and they don't have it in line enough to correct their behavior. A lot of scrapes are done at night. So like field edge stuff, if it's not in good cover and it's not secluded, it's not likely going to get a lot of usage. But, I say that, but then also, man, you just really do have to monitor and observe these. I have a scrape that I found. Well, there was kind of an area just off the road. I had a bunch of scrapes. There wasn't one like in the perfect spot because it was a pine tree and the branches had been broke off.
Mm-hmm.
But I zip tied up an oak limb.
Nice. Yep.
I applied our branch catalyst and I put a camera up. And the biggest deer that I've ever had on camera, I got at that location. And I'm not exaggerating. It was probably 20 feet off of a road.
Really?
And 2:30 in the afternoon, here he is strolling through. What was that? October It was like one of the last days of October. It was late October. It was during the week. Everybody's at work, 2:30 in the afternoon. This deer standing 20 foot off the road checking scrapes. And then I had a handful of deer that worked that scrape all through different hours of broad daylight. And they were walking across that street either before they hit it or afterwards. And they were doing it in the middle of the day and they didn't really care. Sometimes they do that. The more and more, I hate to even say this, but because it's like, it seems like giving away a really important, good strategy. But the more and more that I hunt, the closer to the road I stay.
I know. Lately,
The
thing.
deer just figure out that, well, they can monitor the coming and the going, and they like to do that. So they'll stay close to a trail or a road and see who's, and they'll figure out that that's where the danger comes from. And then I think when people pull into a parking lot and they go to hunt or whatever, everybody wants to go all the way. I'm going 1.2 miles. You can't even walk. I got to crawl through this stuff. Yeah. And it's like that, that's where everybody's going. And you take a J hook and you go 200 yards off of the parking lot over by the road and you see $4.
Yep. I feel like because of podcasts, I think this is probably your fault.
It's Dan Infalt's fault.
It's Dan Infalt.
And I'm a protege. If I'm anything, I'm a hunting beast Dan Infalt protege. Like, I love Dan Infalt and I love Hunting Beast.
Yeah.
And he's still to this day, man, his catalog of the original podcasts that they put out every late summer and coming into the fall, coming into deer season, I re-listened to all that.
Oh, yeah.
Watching Hunting Beast YouTube, and I just like what a goofball Dan is, but his method's always been sitting on top of the bed, and I've observed that for years. Whereas my method is taking all that bedding into account. There's going to be a scrape that those deer are going to be the most comfortable with. If you can find it in like a rut funnel in a pinch in between like a couple big bedding areas where they never really have to leave cover.
Yeah.
And you'll find those spots too, is where they love to push a doe. Come late October, those, it might be a 1/4 acre to a 1 acre pocket of just kind of a brushy corner of a road. Yep. And that's the picture perfect spot for them to push a doe up in there and kind of keep her pinned in.
Yeah.
If you can find, and the other thing about mock scrapes is I prefer to find active scrape.
Right. And then you just freshen it up.
If the spot is truly good, there should already be a scrape. There should be something going on there. But sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes what I did yesterday, the licking branch was gone. This was actually crazy. The scrape I found yesterday, I don't normally find this. If the licking branch is gone, the scrape will be gone. Like, that's the primary tool of, that's important on it. Yeah, they rub their face on it. They have a bunch of different oil. Listen, if they could do a handstand and rub their tarsal glands on it, that's what they would do. But they can't. So what they can do is and you'll see them, they'll just jam their face, they'll rub it all over, because any of the oil that's on there, and they do have, some, orbital glands, and they have, well, if you ever run your hand like over a buck's head, it's like greasy almost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's the stuff that they think to get out there. That's that funk.
Yeah.
But, you need the licking branch has to be there, or so you can add a licking branch back in, with light gauge wire and zip ties.
Yeah.
And I just love using oak limbs. It's stuff that's already out in the woods. You can make it look real neat and tidy, and you just you put a branch back in there, and then sometimes too you'll have like a down tree will have fallen, like there's a pile of brush there, so they stop you. So I've been moving logs around.
Yep.
And curating back up little licking branches. You got to make them pretty durable too, or they won't make it through the season. These deer
I always do that, and they like are dead, and then they like crumble, or whatever, and so they last a few weeks. I've got a few of those like vines you can like tie
Sure.
or whatever.
Guys like vines, guys like ropes. Those are fine.
Ropes. Yeah. So obviously, so one clarification is the type of scrape is important because like you said, some are just these random kind of more random ones are like all torn up during the rut.
Yeah.
The ones you're looking for right now are more community scrapes. Is that right? More that are established for a while that they're coming to quite a bit. Is that correct? Or are you finding kind of more of the peripheral ones too?
That's what people call them, is a community scrape. It's just a better scrape. Like,
Yeah, that one everybody uses. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Hunters, listen up. Latitude Outdoors builds gear for the mobile hunter. Their saddle hunting systems are designed to cut weight, not performance, so you can cover more ground and set up fast, wherever the hunt takes you. From dense hardwoods to open ridges, their mobile-focused gear keeps you efficient and adaptable. Check out their full range at latitudeoutdoors.com.
Yes, essentially.
Yeah.
And you can never really truly put your finger on it.
Yeah.
Until you've spent a lot of time hunting the area and you kind of figure out where the deer typically are. The ones that are right on knocking on the door of, like, if you kind of go into that thick stuff, there's deer bedded there. The ones that are right on the edge of that's typically going to be the one you're going to prioritize. But there's a real easy way to kind of figure this out. If you're in a general area, you pick a general area. Let's say it's 100 acres. Let's just use 100 acres because it's 1,000.
Yep.
You take 1,000 acres and you do your 12 scrapes, your 12 cameras, and you monitor everything. Kind of say it takes, well, you can do it in real time and you can hunt it down. You can relocate camera at, like, when I found that big deer right away, I went to an area that I really hadn't seen much going on.
Mm-hmm.
I pulled all the camera assets and I redeployed them on this deer.
You moved where you found that big buck and you just,
in real time. I was like, I'm going to go stuff 4 cameras in this 160 acres or whatever, try to figure out exactly what he's doing.
And you're putting all the cameras on scrapes.
Yeah, pretty much, because I'm setting a camera up to go in there and with a bow or a gun, sit over that scrape and kill that deer.
So okay. So actually that was going to be my next question. So say you spend all summer, you've got a few scrapes, highly used. October 1, say you're going on October 1, that's opening day here in Michigan. Are you sitting right over that scrape? Like you're right off of it right away? Is that, cause some guys are like, oh, I don't really hunt where I put my trail camera. I use it for inventory.
Yeah, right.
I'm always like, I always hunt right by my trail. Not always, but a lot of times I'm pretty darn close to where I had that camera up.
Well, I'm pretty flexible. I'll move. If I'm hunting and I see something that I need to adjust to, I'll just adjust to it. Sometimes you got to pick and choose because cameras will slow you down, man.
Yeah.
They really will. And when I go, like, I hunt all over the state. So there's places that I go and hunt and have no cameras.
Right. Yep.
But I'm going to be looking for a trail intersection with a scrape to sit over. So with this method where these are basically predetermined locations.
Yeah.
I'm setting up a camera, a scrape, and I have verification that I have a tree that I will take and climb that tree and set a stand or a platform, make sure that I can go in there without making any noise.
Right.
I'm all trimmed out. I kind of got a rule: if it's bigger than my thumb, leave it alone. If it's not, I look at myself that I'm not even sending the state an invoice for my landscaping services. Make sure all these places look more pretty. I'm cleaning up all the dead logs and stuff. I put them all in a big pile. I make salamander habitat. What do they want from me?
You are a real, environmentalist, and
I'm at heart.
What about, like, I got to ask, like, the autumn olive, what's your stance on taking care of that nasty? Do you guys have a lot of those up where you're at?
Yeah, we have a ton of it. Actually, I'd have like half of my yard would be like more accessible if it wasn't for autumn olive.
Freaking autumn olive, man. I hate them.
But it's a love and hate relationship because it's great wildlife habitat. The deer love it. The rabbits love it. I live in like as game rich of an area as possible. And it's because I'm surrounded by autumn olive.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Hide and yeah.
We'll see how my kids come out. They're growing up in it.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Like children of the corn. It's like children of the autumn olive. We got like 11 neighbor kids. They all come crawling out of there, you know?
Clothes all torn up and
Oh, dude, they're all torn up, covered with ticks, but they're, you know, it's great. What are you going to do? So, I hunt around a lot of autumn olive. Deer like to lay scrapes down along them. That, you know, I don't know if it's exactly their preferred.
yeah.
One thing I wanted to go back to is a lot of scrape activities done at night. You know, that's still a great way to get intel. You know, some of those scrapes that only get hit at night are some of those that I'll run an SD card on because it's like right on the edge.
Yep.
Especially a lot of time on edge, you'll have like oak limbs that hang over, and that's their favorite kind of number one thing is that. So even though that those might not be great to hunt over, you can set a camera that you can basically go in with a bike, car, drive right up to it. They're used to human traffic. You can pull right up to it and you can see like, oh, wow. All you have to do is get one picture. All you have to do is get one picture or one video of an animal to know he's alive. And I've said that for years, especially in a state like Michigan. It's a hard hunting state. Like the hardest part about killing a big deer is finding one to hunt because there's just not that many of them. But once you find them, you're in play just like you kind of are with, I mean, if you're checking your boxes, if you're doing your due diligence, you're picking your spots based on good intel, you're getting in clean. You do all this stuff. A lot of times, like I said, I'm bringing a stand or a saddle platform with me. So I will stand where the scrape is and I will just stand there and I will observe. I'll turn around and look, where am I going to place my camera so that it actually gets not only the scrape, but I want the PIR sensor to pick up on movement. So hopefully it's pointed in a direction that the deer are coming or going. So that sensor has a longer basically width to catch that movement. So I know that I'm going to get a quality photo or video, actually capture what I'm setting this thing up to get. Once I've observed that there's something there that'll work for that, I don't do any like putting them. My cameras are all one stick high. So they're whatever that is, 7-8 feet.
Yeah.
So they're all my cameras are like that. They're not down on the ground or on logs or anything weird. Anywhere they're always going to be out of the range of a deer being able to like get anywhere close to it with its nose.
Yeah.
So for a variety of reasons, and I think it's a good theft deterrent. You'd be amazed at how many people I get on camera. They'd never see the camera.
Yeah. If you're up just above eye level, they rarely see it.
So that part, and then I bring a stand or my saddle with me. I pick out which tree. I pick this out based on my route that I'm coming in and the wind direction that I want to hunt. So like this one so yesterday, this will tie into a good story. And actually I've been doing this a lot more now is going and scouting and covering a bunch of ground and dropping a ton of pins and then coming back and studying that.
Yeah.
And then going back out versus kind of like a rushed decision in the moment. Because like I said, I only have so many camera assets and I only have so much time, right? So it's like if I was gonna drop a camera on every scrape I found, I'd be out of cameras in the first half mile sometimes.
Yeah, right.
And I got a whole, I hunt hundreds of thousands of acres all season long.
Right.
So
you said, yep.
Yeah. So, and I recently relocated. So like, this is all new ground, everything's all new ground for me. I've only lived here 2 years. I'll go and speed. It's like a John Eberhart tactic that he calls them speed tours, but I'll go in and I'll just kind of blow through these areas and observe everything in great detail. So, you know, during the season where you're like, you walk to a spot and then you're like, what's up there another 100 yards?
Every
I already
go out, basically. I feel like that.
Yeah, but this time of year you can do that, right? So I don't have to think about in the season what's over there 250 yards. I already know. I go through everything, I drop all my pins, I come home, I typically just go to bed. And then the next morning over coffee, I'll review my day. I'll look at all that, I'll boil all that down, and then I'm going to figure out like a lot of times I'm like a 3 or a 4 cameras to, you know, maybe a couple hundred acres ish type of structure or area. It's like, hey, I'm hunting this hill system or I'm hunting. I'll deploy my cameras accordingly.
Yeah.
I'll go back out then with my cameras, my scent stuff, my tree stand, my sticks, my saddle, my platform, whatever I think I need to do. Now, I don't always do this because I've done this long enough now to know, like, oh, that's a slam dunk. That's an easy tree to get in.
Right.
But if it's any kind of questionable thing, which most good spots are, because if it wasn't questionable, there'd already be a tree stand or somebody hunting it.
Right.
It's got to be kind of a difficult spot to set up in. So you get creative. But now with the modern equipment that we have, you can do it, right? Offset brackets and platforms that can't this way and that way. And with the saddle, you don't need a perfectly straight tree, right? So it's like you could do a lot of rad things and get real creative. But my point is that I have about 100% confidence that when I go back out to sit that, I know that I can get up in that tree and shoot clearly to that scrape.
Right.
And then when that camera reports to me and lets me know that X, Y, and Z is going on, and when it's going on, I can just in real time kind of calculate that data. You know, I don't live on top of my cameras. Some of this stuff I can't act on, but it's like some of it's historical too. You know, like if I have to drive a couple hours to a spot that I've chased some big deer around in, if I got to drive over there to find out if there's acorns or not, it's a huge cost and time and expense to me. If I can just know that I'm getting a pile of photos, there's acorns there, and we're going there next week. We're hunting it.
Yeah.
So, and you know, I'm thinking about this too more as we talk. Probably 100% of time, with a gun, I don't sit over a scrape, especially late season after we've gotten snow.
Yeah.
I'm just going where I know there's deer and where there's deer travel and activity or feeding. But bow hunting,
Yeah.
man, I'm pretty much set up because that scrape is like I set that up or I've set my stand up. I know it's 26 yards.
Right.
You know, it's like two things about bow hunting whitetails, right? Known distance. It's like, hey, how far is that thing?
Yeah.
Always been a challenge, right?
Yeah.
You want it at 26 yards. I like that because they're close, but the shot angles, I'd prefer 25 over 15.
Yeah. It's not so steep.
And they're not like literally right on top of you.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if you can give a mature buck, especially 10 more yards being off of you,
yeah,
his like spidey senses are less likely to go off, even if you're doing everything right. So that 10 yards, I love 26 yards. It's the perfect distance. It's a good shot angle. So I set a lot of my stuff up at 25 to 30 yards, but closer to 25. That's always what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
So known yardage. And then typically, if all goes well, the deer is going to walk right to the thing. And then it's going to start to.
Yep.
And if you do the oak branch theory, it's almost like a little rattle. Like those leaves are dry and the sticks are dry. And when they go and stick their face in there and they start moving that thing around, they can't see or hear anything.
Right.
So you've got a deer that's like deaf, dumb, and blind momentarily. Sometimes they even get super pretty for you, dude, and they stretch out And they like, yeah, and they put their front leg forward and they like literally say, "Hey, here's my heart and lungs, running arrows."
More. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you've taken all that into account and that deer comes in and you're there and you executed, you're like, you're a killer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. When you're setting these up, so historically, growing for a lot of my life hunting, my approach to, I love scrapes. Yeah, I put trail cameras up on them all the time. But I didn't use scent for a lot of the time growing up, right? Or just I'd pull the branch down, I'd pee on it.
Yeah.
You know, I'd pee everywhere, which is fine. It washes away fast. I'd pee all over stuff, you know, which is funny because, you know, some people are very adamant that you not pee in your blind, that you don't pee near a stand. And I've always just kind of peed wherever. I'm not holding it in. I'm not waiting. And I feel like it works. So all that to say is, so that's like the natural scent. And you can go out and you can buy natural deer scent too, right? You can put, you know, actual deer piss out and actual whatever. Why, you know, when you mentioned kind of solving this problem of,
Oh yeah, sure. Great.
why synthetic? Why do you, what's better about it?
Okay. Just one thing I want to add to finish up on the known distance and the distracted deer. I thought about it as we were starting to move on. Just think about like a youth hunter or somebody that doesn't have a lot of experience
Yeah.
and like going out and hunting public land and thinking that, you know, a kid that's never shot a deer before is gonna pick the right distance in between two pine trees as this deer walks through. It's like really, it's a good tool, I think, for youth hunters and people with less experience to get a deer to stand still in front of you. So to each their own how they want to do that. There's a lot of different options, but I'm going to try to raise my son hunting deer the way that I did and like, you know, shoot one with a bow. It's a tough feat, but if you know it's at 20 yards and you've practiced that over and over and over again and that deer's standing there broadside distracted, it's just like, so this is where what I was thinking. When we did this, it wasn't like we're going to target all the big buck hunters.
Right.
The product works for that, but what percentage of the deer hunting populace is that really? Is the like people that are listening to wind and thermal podcast in March, you know, like that's us. We're nuts.
Right.
But there's also like a lot more casual people that just want to go out and get a deer. I grew up hunting.
Yeah.
I grew up hunting over bait. It was a great option for a guy on a 1 or 2 weekend. So like the set, being able to increase the opportunity around the scrape. We were always playing with scents.
Right.
And everything just, at some point we would get negative reactions from deer, you know?
Yep.
And more often than not, it's the one, the biggest deer, the hardest one to find. He walks and you see him in the video walking and then walking into the scent profile and getting alerted. And you're sitting there going, what am I doing here?
Right.
What's the point of this? So then I started. So, and I don't want to dog on what anybody's making for a product. There's a place for all of it, but I don't think that it's been proven to me that you can get a consistent product from a live deer.
Right.
You're never getting pee from one animal. You're not even getting pee from probably one farm. Well, maybe the places that have their own farm and do all their stuff internally. But guess what? They're probably still selling that stuff to other companies.
Right.
So it's not like a deer walks into a stall every night and pees in a urinal.
Yeah.
And it has its own little slot and you know what you're getting. It's like, how would they come up with this much doe in heat if does are in heat like 24 hours? You know, like, has anybody thought about that for even a minute?
Right. Where's that Tink 69 really coming from? You know?
Where's that coming from? I can tell you where it's coming from. It's coming from about 13,000 deer.
Huh. Interesting.
Yes, so looking for consistency in a product.
In the smell, you mean? When you say consistency, you're like, so it's not just like a bunch of different piss that it smells.
If you put it out and a deer smells it and then you put it out again and it smells different, something's changed, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying there's no consistency there. So it's like, how do you truly replicate what maybe one time I also don't like the thing of kind of being sold an empty bill of goods, like this is what this is, but then you actually find out that's not what it is.
Yeah, right. They
So
come
the scent industry has been a malicious, predatory space, but also scents are super fun. They've gotten a lot of people deer. They've gotten a lot of people excited to go deer hunting. You know, you hear something works and you go and get it, and it's fun.
I've done that many times. Yep.
So, but some of the just complete smoke and mirror and just straight up lies to move and sell product based off of telling people it's one thing and it being another. So we kind of wanted to bridge that gap where like we could make a product and explain to people what it is, why it works, and actually be truthful about it. I know. And then as I started doing this, I got some buddies that trap, and like they have kits and scents and all this, and they're so meticulous about what they do. And I was like, well, how about I just do this? Like, how about I stop doing it the way that kind of the industry showed me how to do it? And I just do what these guys are doing trapping and have like steps and procedures. And then we just started working on making our own product, because even the best product that we could find, the one that like the most really serious deer hunters were like, yeah, this one's the best.
Mm-hmm.
It had shortcomings and we weren't happy with it. And finally I just said, there was an event and I had enough. And I was like, all right, if whoever is making this product is truly using it, they would address this issue.
Right.
And so that led me to believe that that this could be done better if somebody was like actually passionate about it and using this product the way that they say they are, and it works the way that they say that it does, right? So we started working on a couple different concepts. And then I got a really, really intelligent, one of my best friends that I grew up with, and he's also a diehard deer hunting nut. Both of us have had interest in chemistry since a young age. So we just kind of started working on stuff, and he said something one day and I was like, man, that might be it. And so I started playing around with it and I was like, oh my God, this works so good. And kind of the foundation of that was no like foreign ingredients of things that aren't naturally found in a deer's habitat. Because that, I think, to me, is the number one red flag. You go put something in their area that they're not used to, even though it smells badass and awesome.
Right.
If it's a foreign odor to a mature deer, dude, they're not cool with it. It raises
Old deer in Michigan where they've smelled all of the scents that have you go out to public land and where guys hunt a bit, you're gonna find a little wafer, you're gonna find one of those little white tabs, like they're all over the woods, right? And at some point I'm like, these deer have smelled everything. I hunt by a guy he puts like eight of those white things out. He hunts one tree almost every day on this piece of property. And he's just surrounded by the stuff. And he just every morning goes out and dips it, and he just sits in his scent shield. And I'm always like I know you've done it for several years now, at least that I've even known about it. So at some point the deer are like, there's a bubble, don't go over there. There's no 4.5-year-old buck that's going to go anywhere near that.
Yeah. Well, they're like, I smell an abundance of scent wafer with a hint of pepperoni. Yeah. Smells like 91 octane.
Yeah, that's right.
Isn't it? So, but it's fun I love those scent wafer things. People find stuff that they just like, and here's the cool thing about smell, like it'll spark a memory in a second. So,
oh man, those little plastic things, those little,
who doesn't love that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or who hasn't taken decent sized huff of a bottle of dope pee, and you're like, it's got its place. Yeah. 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 It brings you back. Right. So all that stuff's fun and crazy shit happens too. Right. Like my buddy says, like, Uncle Bill's, hot dough piss is that's what got brought to camp. And oh man, we've been hearing such good things about it. And then somebody randomly goes and sprinkles it on a stump, and they go back and sit in their shack, and 20 minutes later, the biggest deer they ever saw in their life standing there. Well, a coyote jumped it out of its bed, 100 yards away, and it ran and stopped right there. It never smelled the scent. It had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
But that's how deer hunting goes.
Right.
Well, guess what that consumer thinks?
It's all anecdotal in the hunt.
Dude, he's going to be the best Uncle Dave's dough piss customer for the rest of his life.
That's fun.
But you can create those situations through the education and like using the map like a trapper. And that's the best way to say it. If you go about this like a trapper, you set up a method. One of the things I told you, I do the camera setup, I do the tree stand setup, I do the scrape, I apply the limb, everything I need. My backpack's pretty much on my bag. I've dropped my pins, everything's done. The last thing I do is put my scent down.
Yep.
Then I walk away because I don't want to, and people are eager to because the scent's fun to play with. They're like eager to do it right away. But if you do that and it's on your hands and then you walk to this tree and you walk over here, a big deer's smart. He'll come in and he'll figure all that out. So just like a trapper, you want to have as low scent profile as possible. And you want to use that scent to overpower or draw to that specific location. So it's the last thing I do is apply, synthetic urine in the scrape. And then we make 2 different branch catalyst products. So essentially what the branch catalyst products is they have a sweet overtone. We've been challenged recently by some people about legality because you can't, like in Pennsylvania, use like a food-based smell lure. But I actually have the proof to prove that that's not the case, because if that was the case, I think the deer would walk up and at least like lick the leaves, like bite the leaves, eat the leaves. I have hundreds of videos of deer coming, and they rub their face and they
right.
Not to say that they're not going to touch it with their mouth, but they don't come in and just start eating this stuff. So it's not a food-based attractant.
It's not like that stuff. I don't know if you ever had this when you were a kid. I bought it once. It was like a tube of like gel, and it was like apple scented gel that
apple or acorn.
I love that. I would just sniff on that for a while.
I love all that stuff too, man. But like if I see that stuff at the store sometimes, like an old relic that's you gotta knock the dust off of it, it's like from '98, I'll buy that just to have it in the shop.
That's right. You gotta have that around. It just brings you back to the golden age of
New
York.
You know how many scrape drippers I've salvaged out of the woods?
Nice.
I got a nice collection of scrape drippers, and I'm thinking about trying to figure out how to run them moving forward. Our branch cattles has a sweet overtone. I would compare it more to like a perfume. It's like, hey, that smells really good. I'm interested in that. But it's the inactive ingredient. It's kind of the carrier for the active ingredient, which is like a proprietary gland admixture that we created. And that is, so we this stuff all gets mixed together. It's almost like making beer or wine, to be honest with you. All the ingredients go into a vat, and that sits for 48 hours, and all that gland gets drawn out and mixed into. And so there's a couple other things that go on in there, but essentially there's a process where it takes a time period of that all going in there, and then the finished product comes out. It goes through a series of filters, because there's solid particular matter or particle matter in there that has to get filtered out. And then what's left is a liquid that goes in a spray bottle, and that gets sprayed on the branches, and it has that synthetic gland in it. And there's no other product in the space that I think has anything like that going on. I compare it to tarsal gland. And when I said earlier about the deer doing the handstand, Like, when you walk up on a rutting buck, like, what's the first thing you smell? Those tarsal glands, right? It's like
Musky. Yeah.
musty. And if you open up a bottle of our branch catalyst, either one, it has a sweet overtone and then it has a musty undertone. And that musty undertone is the active ingredient. And we call it branch catalyst because it's a catalyst. It just accelerates a process, right? So we could make the scrape and not put any scent on it.
Right.
But we can also add a catalyst to entice deer to get the party going. And that's the great thing about the scrape. If you bait hunt and the bait's gone, the spot dries up. If you get a scrape right, it's like starting to slice it.
Yeah, because it just keeps you. And a lot of times you get it started, and it just kind of is self-sustaining.
That's exactly, and that's the best one. Like, especially to kill the biggest, oldest deer off of. Like, you kind of want to get it running and let it run. And the cool thing about it is the deer will tell you, and this goes back to our camera strategy and the whole overview.
Yeah.
The deer, if you go into a 1,000-acre parcel, I think we started to talk about this and then we got sidetracked. Go into 1,000 acres, the deer are going to let you know which ones they like. Don't try to force it. Don't try to go out there and, I'm just going to continue to waste money on putting scent here because I think the deer. I'm like, no, the deer have spoken. Yeah. Scrapes are just like real estate. It's location, location, location. So take that 1,000 acres, boil it down to 100 acres where you're seeing the most activity, right?
Yep.
And focus on that. So maybe you go from setting up 12 scrapes to now you're like, these 6 have no activity, but these 6 have great activity.
Right.
So reprioritize and start to boil that down. And then based on your goals and objectives, maybe for me, I'm trying to fill a couple doe tags and I want to go to the one that's 20 foot off the road.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to the one back on a swamp marsh island.
No.
So based on your goals and needs, that can tell you where, and if it's hunting the biggest, nastiest buck and you found him and he's in there and he's hitting this thing, man, you know where to focus your time and attention, So just let the deer, at that point, you just let the deer, and our product launched as DH3 and it was a 3, and it still is a 3-part system. So we've evolved the company because we have more than just those 2 products now, but the first part of our system was always education. Like, you have to consume the education, you have to figure out the method in the system, you have to take into account all the variables that only you know about your deer hunt. You can't just trust what somebody's saying because every deer hunt's going to be different. So you got to get in there and do the micro analysis. But the education is the foundation of the system, and just let the deer tell you, like, don't force it and roll with the punches. And then after doing that for a couple of years, you can really start making some really accurate projections about where and what and this and that. And I've been really happy recently. Like, I've never hunted hills except for the last 2 years, and last year I pretty much just hunted hills.
Yeah.
And didn't really, I did a lot of walking around and finding a lot of nothing and just
like burning. You mean like a hilly woods or like open hills? What do you?
Forest hills. Yeah. Forested hill country.
Yeah.
So this year last year I just burned a lot of boot leather, man.
Right.
And this year it's been more of like picking a pin on a map, walking into the spot and being like, yeah, sweet.
Right.
So you just continue to evolve your system and kind of let the deer tell you. And the other 2 products, we have a synthetic urine. So yeah, that's probably a good thing. I probably don't focus on that enough, right? Like, we have a synthetic urine, or dude, just, you can pull your pecker out and shoot her towards the sky. And
I'm pulling it out either way.
Yeah.
So
Honestly, there's a time and a place for everything.
That's right.
And when you're in the woods all by yourself,
yeah,
sometimes it just seems appropriate. No, we make a specific product for the branch that makes a little more sense than doing that.
Yeah.
But the pee in the scrape, or you can use a synthetic. If you have success with the synthetic, next time you're getting the exact same product. It's not a product from a different vendor that was white labeled by a company, and it's the completely different product than what you got last time. You're getting the exact same thing. So if you want that consistency, you're worried about that level of detail, the synthetic urine works well. And then I last year tested a product through the season called N11. It's our active scrape.
Okay.
I wasn't going to do, I'll probably maybe come up with something here, but I wasn't going to do dough and knead. I just wasn't going to do it, man. So what I did is I made it N11, and N is for November 11th, the 11th month of the year. It's the whitetail rut, and that's our active scrape product. And that is a synthetic urine compound that has the gland admixture in it.
Yep.
And then it also has another active ingredient.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so that is, and I do tell people, I think the way that product works is you don't actually use it until if you're trying to kill a big deer, if they're not stupid. If you put something out of place.
Yeah.
This is what foreign odor, but come late October, come November, when does are actively going into estrus, there is a chemical composition that changes in the scrape. It's from the does and the bucks. The bucks start rub urinating down through their tarsal glands. Yeah. All of a sudden, you have all this gland extraction going into the scrape, right? And guess what? Now everybody knows it's party time.
Yep, exactly.
If you try to go do that September 15th, I think it's going to fall flat on its face. If you're trying to build a pattern or a habit, maybe, possibly, I don't know, because I really didn't start field testing this product last year until beginning of October.
I see.
And it wasn't until the end of, so I saw that there was definitely something there. And obviously in my head, it made sense. I already knew both of these products worked. And then this other active ingredient is also something that's naturally found in a deer's environment. We concentrated that down, put that in there, and I'm like, this is just rad. And it took me back. Historically as a kid, I love, my favorite product was Trail's End.
Trail's End.
Look it up.
I'm looking at that. Right.
I've sold so much Trail's End this year, dude.
Oh yeah. Oh, that. Yeah, I know it by the label. It's just like the colors. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to describe it?
It's just like red with the yellow. Yeah.
Does it have a bullseye or something on here?
Yeah, you got a bullseye and a like outline of a buck. Like,
yeah.
I have bought this many times in my life.
Yeah, so Trail's End was a product that I always liked. There's a little active twist in there. I thought it was a cool product. So I kind of had, when I started working on an actual active scrape, I thought about that product. And
interesting.
So we started putting the stuff out in November, and just finding within 3 to 10 days, there's going to be multiple bucks visiting the scrape. Yeah. And I think that's what the time of year when a lot of deer are transient. Like when they talk about a deer smelling something and then coming to it, that doesn't happen unless it's in the window where deer are actively breeding.
Right.
And they are purposely up on their feet seeking out a hot doe, or maybe they're coming to a scrape already to see if there is a deer in the area that, they can communicate that. Hormone profiles, once they're expelled from the body and they can be sensed outside of the body, that's what a pheromone is.
Ah, okay.
So hormone and a pheromone is the exact same thing. So deer can expel a chemical signal in the form of hormones detectable to, and all animals do this, not just deer, all animals do this, and they can detect what's going. What is that deer in heat? How? So that's a pheromone, and so you can understand that and use it and be predatory on them. And that November window when they're actually cruising looking for that, I think if they pick that up. But the thing about it, it's not weird. I was kind of shocked at first, but I was like, oh, it makes sense because it's transient deer that are they're like, we saw a lot of success with it. Thanksgiving weekend and through December, all the way to January, into January.
Really?
I have pictures. I have video of deer on January 10th ripping a scrape apart.
Really?
Yeah, and so it was fantastic feeling.
Yeah, it's good feedback for you guys. Even just testing it out.
Yeah, exactly right. So that product's on our website now. We're actually just going through some numbers. We dropped our prices this year on everything except for that product, but now I think we're getting ready to be able to drop that price point even a couple bucks because honestly, we got some AI assistants working in the background crunching numbers, and we're tightening things up, and we're able to kind of run a little tighter business. We found some better vendors with some better products. We've got a relationship now. People are buying products, so we can up our minimum order quantities, so we can get a better value on things, and we just pass that off to our consumer. We're direct to consumer. We have done a couple, sales to some vendors, retail, wholesale locations, but for the most part, everything's through the website and direct to consumer.
Yeah, I mean, coming out with a new product is an amazing amount of work. But it's cool when it's something that it's funny as I seen you start this company, it's like, oh, that's right up his alley. It's like the perfect Kevin thing. It's just like, it fits what you've done so far. It fits your people who follow you kind of know what you're about with it. So it's been cool to see, you figure out this interesting problem and make something pretty cool.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm kind of impatient. I'm a patient person.
Yeah.
But I like to have a level of confidence to think that I'm in the game. And if that goes away when I'm out there, I kind of mentally tune out real quick and stop having fun. So I always want to feel like I'm in the game. And while I do have a lot of patience, it's like I want to be as effective and efficient with my time. One other quick thing about synthetics is that typically there's a lot less behind the scenes logistics. This got bought from these people and then sold to these people and then sold to these people and then finally to you. So 5 different entities have to get paid before you get products. So something that costs pennies now costs you $20 for an ounce and a half of product. It's bananas.
Yeah.
So we sell our scrape kits, our 2 8-ounce cylinders. There's 8 ounces synthetic urine. There's 8 ounces of branch catalyst that comes in a standard kit.
Yep.
We also sell in half-gallon and gallon volumes and sell industrial spray bottles. That's how I do, mine. I use the industrial spray bottle, but you can do a lot of damage with just the 8-ounce kits. And so that's 16 ounces of scent for $39.99. It's roughly $2.50 an ounce.
Yeah.
Whereas some of the competitors that are selling, single deer in heat, and they're charging $20 to $22.50 for an ounce and a half.
Wild.
I love capitalism and commerce, so I'm not going to complain about it, but I'm just telling you what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. And you can kind of use it to your advantage, which it is the nice thing. And I have noticed that about you guys. Now, in my head, I pictured you with a 5-gallon bucket walking out and a sprayer attached to it and just going to town out there. But
I'll tell you the honest to God truth. And I think sometimes less is more.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, really.
You're supposed to say that. You're supposed to say you need to use more and be out there all.
I know. It doesn't matter what I say, dude. Guys are buying the gallons like crazy.
Yeah.
I could tell them that till I'm blue in the face, but it's just a natural behavior. But I do think you can like overload or overwhelm.
Yeah.
And scent, this stuff. So when we were testing, I was testing at my house, and I have woods behind my house, and I'd spray this stuff like 100 yards back here. I'd be mowing the lawn an hour later, and I'd be like, man, I just got a face full. And then I'd look and I'd be like, oh my God, the wind is literally, you could smell the stuff for a long ways away.
Well, and if you're a deer, it's that times 100,
Or 1,000 or 10,000, right?
Whatever. Yeah.
So I'm literally thinking you can go out there and build a mock scrape and just walk up and be like,
Right.
and if those deer come within the general proximity of that, it's gonna. And another thing that we've done with it, other guys use it too, is cover scent, the branch catalyst.
Really?
Yeah, just once if you're a mobile hunter and you get to a tree and you drop all your stuff, and you're hanging your stuff and your jacket's off and it's laying there. Next thing you know, you got a 10 square foot radius of scent, right?
Yeah.
If the deer gets your wind, they're gonna get your wind. So would you rather them get a nose full of you, or potentially this?
Pull them down for a few seconds at that point, and hopefully you get a shot off.
Yeah, and we don't go crazy with it, but just at the base of the tree, we'll spray a little bit. I really don't even put any up in the tree around me. It's strong smelling. It smells great too, by the way.
What does it taste like? We'll squirt for the mouth.
I wouldn't. It's not for consumption by legal parameters. I have to tell you that and stand my ground.
Yeah. Okay. But you've tried it though.
I've gotten some on my hands and like licked my finger, but you don't want to put it in your mouth.
It reminds. Speaking of old products, it reminds me. I think I was probably in high school when this came out, but the scent covered gum.
Yeah.
Came out. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still. I don't know that I've seen it in a while, but yeah, dude, that was a classic.
So guys use it, and guys tell me they won't hunt without it. Like they'll use it as their cover spray, and they've just seen such positive results with it. And 2 times last year, I had 2 of my testimonials myself. I was hunting with Jordan Brown from Michigan Outdoors,
Mm-hmm.
and we were walking into this like funnel. And no matter which way you came from, you knew that there was a chance that in the morning, with which direction the deer came from,
Yeah.
they were going to cut your track, and it was going to be a problem. And of course, that's what happened. But we sprayed that branch catalyst around the tree that we were climbed up in, and it was like 3 mature doe. And they came and they hit our track and they stopped, and they just kind of started, they're looking around, but pretty quickly flagging the tail. They knew something was there, but it wasn't like a turn inside out and be alert.
Right.
And one of them turned and walked literally right in front of us, like to investigate.
Yeah.
And I went to draw the bow back. I drew the bow back. She walked behind a tree. The other one visually picked me, so she started getting like that. So now the other deer's looking at her. So I'm holding. Jordan's over my shoulder with the camera. Finally, dude, I was just dying. And I was like, I'm gonna have to let down, and these deer are just gonna. Well, I don't remember if she took off first or what, but at the exact same time, my shoulder like flinched a little bit, and I just sent an arrow.
Oh, yeah.
Just sent an arrow, dude, and I was dying anyways. But it was just like, if the deer got a nose full of us, they're gonna not. You're not gonna have that interaction. And then we ended up having deer come through the other direction. We shot 2 of them on film. It's on Michigan Outdoors last year in October. And then we do the antlerless hunt every year with our boys. We go to deer camp, and like, there's no scent control. It's not cleanly at all. It's like young boys, Pop-Tarts, campfire, you name it. We smell like beer.
Yeah, you're right.
We're hunting out of pop-up tents, And so I sprayed the pop-up tent with the branch catalyst, and we had this 1.5-year-old spike buck walk out in the field, and he was coming straight across the field, and our wind's blowing straight across it.
Yeah.
And he hit our scent, and he stopped, and he looked right over at, I mean, it was no question. He hit our scent, and you watched him do it in real time. And he just started kind of looking around like this, doing that. And I mean, we're not even 100 yards. He's maybe like 85 yards from us. So he could see, but he was interested, and he just started walking straight at us. And if we had had a buck tag, my son and I would have got our first deer, but it was the doe weekend, and he came to 50 yards, and he just stood there and was kind of looking, and then he just flagged his tail and walked off. But I'm like, dude, this deer's, I mean, if a deer was going across the field, and you're sitting there and you smell and they get your scent, like,
They're gone.
yeah, they might stop for a second because deer will do that.
Yeah, and like look at you and just like do that stomp maybe a little bit, try to either the whole deal, maybe blow,
Ultimately, they're going to run away. It's going to be a bad deal, right? So I'm just saying there's multiple uses for the product. Guys have used it in that capacity. I've used it myself, seen success. It's not what I designed it for, but it's not really like a foreign odor to them. It's stuff that's found in their natural environment that's concentrated and then put through a process and put into a bottle, and you can go put it out there, and they love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're recording now. We're 2 months. I don't know how many days. 7, 4, June 20. I mean, 35, 42, 49, 56, 57, 58 days out.
Wow.
Right? We're close. That's like you can hold your breath that long. Like we're coming around. So that's why I say I've been thinking about it. I've been just starting to get cameras out. I've got a couple out now, but like in the next 2 weeks, it's like where I go wild with it.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to get you on. So,
well, when we're done, remind me your address, and I'll send you some BCM1 branch cattle so you can get out and get some cameras going, some scrapes.
Yeah, I'll take some. I'll use it to shoot the most medium buck you've ever seen.
Hey. Like I said, I've been real clear about that. If you want to use it to go extract does out of the woods, man, everybody be a fan.
Yeah.
No, we need to curb a little bit of our, doe population here. And that's the one thing, everybody says that, like, oh, go out and shoot more does. Like, dude, I've been deer hunting 22 years. I didn't get a doe last year. It wasn't on, like, sometimes.
Yeah.
It could be hard. Like baiting is a really good equalizer.
Right.
But if you're going out and hunting public land and you're just saying like, hey, go out and shoot a bunch of does, for the people that are, diehard hunters and have a lot of experience, maybe you're successful at that, but it can be challenging to go out and shoot any kind of deer, man. So and give yourself.
Yeah. No, it really is. And we do need to shoot them more, but we also don't allow baiting, and I feel like open the season up early. I mean, there's a lot of ways we could be working on that, but yeah. So for people listening, where can they find you and your product and learn more about what you've been up to?
Deerhuntersynthetics.com is the website. And then we do a show every week, podcast available to everybody. Deer Hunter Podcast.
It's a fun one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely lighter hearted.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we keep it pretty loose around there. We're unprofessionals in a professional space. We've said that from day one. So, deerhuntersynthetics.com, deerhunterpodcast.com, and then actually we just launched the website for Deer Hunter Gear, and we're making our own line of American manufactured hunting clothing. So we have our own camo that we developed and some products. We're working with a company out of Minnesota, WSI Sports. They specialize in cold weather active gear. They make like all the base layers for the NFL playoffs, and they make a bunch of hockey base layers, and they do MLB playoffs, and they specialize in cold weather active gear. And so we've been working with them the last couple of years, and we're getting ready to bring a handful of garments to market through Deer Hunter Gear. So
Cool. Yeah, I'm checking out on the web right now. I saw you guys came out with that hoodie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. We're going to have a handful of different things. We're going to have a micro fleece hoodie, some micro fleece soft shell pants, gloves, hats, neck gaiters, hand warmers, base layers. We have the best underwear that you'll ever wear. I'll send you a pair of those too. Hey,
You treat your boys right, you know?
I'd be lying to you if I told you I had pants on right now. I'm doing one of the CNN interviews because it's hot in here.
That's just don't be I don't know if you remember the news around I think his name is Jeffrey Tubin. Yeah, you gotta be careful for that kind of situation.
Oh yeah, I pay attention. My point is that I discovered this company through their base layers and their underwear, and I was like, once you wear a pair of underwear that's actually really good, everything else like goes in the garbage.
Yeah.
And that's what started my relationship off with this company is specifically socks and underwear. Like anybody, I've worn all the socks that everybody says are like the best socks, and I can tell you that they're not. Like we're gonna have a wool blend sock that will outperform any option in the market space, and it's gonna be made 100% in the United States. And then we have a bamboo blend boxer brief that is antimicrobial, dries super fast. I'm not exaggerating. You could work in these underwear for a week straight. They could be sweaty, nasty, disgusting. If you just hang them up and let them air dry, you go smell it. It doesn't smell like anything. It's ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense. Like that would be that would be a death sentence. You ever try that with like poly blend underwear, dude? It'll kill you. Yeah.
Oh, agreed. It's so bad. It makes it worse somehow. The fabric seems to make it actually worse.
It certainly does. So we'll have those bamboo boxer briefs. We're going to have a base layer top and bottom. And, there's been a lot of evolution in the last 10, specifically even more in the last 5 years of like the climbing gear and the technical gear. And I haven't seen that the whitetail clothing lines have made a product to cater specifically to that individual.
Yeah.
And so that's who we are. That's what we do. Yeah. So here you go again. We just was like, all right, I guess we're doing this on our own now because we can't find what we want.
Right. No, it's awesome. That's none of that is surprising to me, and it's exciting. I mean, it's cool camo for even as a pattern. It's cool. I like
the camo is an open pattern,
yeah,
for being elevated, and it's a gray base, and that is because specifically the foliage is off. Like I love my favorite kind of camo is a camo that's heavy in greens. For me personally, I just love that because I love the look of it. But
yeah,
unfortunately, it's the least functional.
Right.
Because when you come around to that rut, there's nothing green left. Everything's gray and brown.
Yeah.
So we have a macro breakup pattern that when people see the photos this fall of our full kit, like up in the skyline, I think it's going to rival anything camouflage that's been done specifically for whitetail deer hunting. And then we do have a brown phase of it that we're going to release as well, which I like to call buck down brown.
I like that. Yeah.
But if you're a ground pounder, that buck down brown is going to be the pattern that you are going to prefer. But if you're a guy that's sitting in a tree in November, again, back to November, the whitetail rut,
yeah,
that's the centerpiece of it, right? Those 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Like that's your big meal ticket and you want to capitalize on it. I think we have a pattern that'll work as good as anything that's ever been brought to market in the space.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, everybody.
Dude, thanks for having me. I was excited when you hit me up today because I had the time.
I mean,
and I've been thinking about you.
What's that?
And I've been thinking about you. I want to get you into the studio. We talked about that.
Yes.
So maybe we can follow up on that, or at a minimum, I'll send an invite in here in a couple weeks before season gets going. We'll get you on and see what you got going on. And
I would love that.
You always got a bunch of stuff going on. Where are you going? Traveling, hunting, doing this, doing that, shooting movies.
Yep. It's going to be a busy year right now. So yeah, I'm happy to do that anytime for sure.
Good. And I'm a Kafaru guy from way back when.
I know you got. What do you have? The Timberline, or what's that? The name of the old pack? Is that what you run?
I have a pack that Aaron Snyder specifically kind of made, I believe, for himself and named after himself, the Mountain Warrior.
Oh yeah, Mountain Warrior.
Had something to do with his military involvements, and they didn't have that bag for the terribly too long time. They change things out. You could find something very similar, but yeah, I've got a tactical frame and a Mountain Warrior pack and a guide lid that's
nice.
probably 7-8 years old now. It's got a lot of wear and tear and miles on it. It all works so good. So I'm a big Kafari fan.
Yeah, we are too. Yeah, they've been great, and their new stuff you should check out because they're like I've been running their Absaroka pack that's really nice. So I'll be using that a lot this year. But
Yeah.
Well, like I said, thanks for coming on. Good to see you, and everybody go check them out. Like I said, one of my favorite guys to follow on social media, just because you're entertaining and you got good information.
I appreciate that. I'll mention is our YouTube. We've put a lot of time and energy into that. Last year we filmed we have a crew of guys now. We all filmed last year. Those hunts are all being curated and are going to start releasing September 1st.
Nice.
So we're going to have our own hunt series on our YouTube over at just go to YouTube, go to Deer Hunter Podcast. We put up content there fairly consistently, and we're going to start launching our hunt series September 1st. And then every 2 weeks, I think we're going to have a hunt show through the deer season. So
looking forward to that. That'll be awesome.